Good morning, and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. The first passage we want to look at as we explore humor in the Bible is the story of the Magi visiting the baby Jesus. And remember, some of the best humor in those days was aimed at their leaders. They loved stories where the rich and powerful didn't have things work out their way. And the story of the Magi is full of things just like that. Since it's not near Epiphany, let me remind you of this story from Matthew. In the time of King Herod, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem asking, "Where is the child who has been born King of the Jews? For we observed his star at its rising and have come to pay him homage." When King Herod heard this, he was frightened, and all Jerusalem with him. And calling together all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Messiah was to be born. They told him, "In Bethlehem of Judea." Then Herod secretly called for the wise men and learned from them the exact time when the star had appeared. Then he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, "Go and search diligently for the child, and when you have found him, bring me word so that I may go and pay him homage." When they had heard the king, they set out, and there ahead of them went the star that they had seen at its rising, until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw that the star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. On entering the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they knelt down and paid him homage. Then, opening their treasure chests, they offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they left for their own country by another road. You may never have seen all the humor in this story, but there is a lot. One writer commented that Matthew weaves the story of the Magi in such a way that every sentence becomes an ironic statement. First, these travelers from the east came seeking a newborn king of the Jews. Two things there. The east refers to Babylon, where the Jews had spent 70 years in captivity. So an enemy comes to worship a Jew. Ironic enough? But also we need to hear the question more carefully. They ask, "Where is he who is born King of the Jews?" We miss the importance of that question because you see, what they knew that we don't know is that Herod wasn't in the royal line and in fact wasn't even a Jew. He had been appointed to rule by the Romans. But these Magi ask about the one born to the throne, the rightful heir. And by the way, that's why all Jerusalem trembles. Herod fiercely ended any threat to his throne, even killing his son. People would have chuckled at the temerity of the Magi. Well, let's move on. These enemy Magi come looking for a newborn king of the Jews in the person of a baby. Enemies don't typically come looking for babies, they look for adults. What threat can a baby offer? More irony. I believe people would also have enjoyed how foolish Herod looks. Herod was the king, and yet when the travelers go to Herod and ask about the baby, he has to admit that he doesn't know a thing about it. He's supposed to be in the know for everything in his kingdom, but he isn't. And even more, he has to consult scholars to give him any answer at all. What a stupid, foolish king. Well, as you know, Herod thinks he is very clever and that he will get the Magi to do his work for him, to ferret out this threat to his throne. He sends them to Bethlehem and tells them to come and tell him when they find the baby so that he too can worship him. But of course the Magi are warned in a dream to go home a different way, and they do. And once more Herod is exposed as foolish, his plans thwarted by foreigners, a common carpenter, his wife, and their baby. I'll bet people thought about all that with satisfaction the next time they had to pay taxes. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.